This is an emergency message from the SCP Foundation. Do not turn off your devices. I repeat, this is an emergency message from the SCP Foundation. This is not a drill. Do not panic. If you are receiving this broadcast, there is reason to believe that you are in danger. The following information and instructions will prevent fatalities if you listen carefully. We have just received word from authorities that SCP-106 has escaped containment. SCP-106 is infamously difficult to keep contained, requiring several layers of strict security measures. The public is encouraged to call a national hotline number to report sightings at 284-434-5508. You may also report sightings and tips at www.scp106.com. SCP-106 appears as an elderly humanoid with signs of severe decomposition and rotting flesh. It's possible you may smell it before you see it, as no one can mistake the acrid smell of putrefaction. It has been observed and well documented that SCP-106 is not extremely agile and should not be considered a fast or quick mover. Occasionally it has been observed to remain motionless or dormant for long periods of time up to 3 months. It is believed that it will enter a dormancy state on purpose to intentionally lure prey into its vicinity so that it may attack. If you notice something resembling an elderly humanoid that smells of rotting flesh, do not approach. Contact local authorities and keep your distance. The specific details surrounding the escape are not exactly clear to us at this time, mostly because all witnesses of the breach appear to be dead, or in some cases still alive but severely decomposed and rotted to the point that they are of no use for obtaining further information. There are unconfirmed reports that there was a disastrous breach in protocol, and it's possible the lead-lined container that housed SCP-106 was compromised and rendered unsafe for containment. Furthermore, we are aware of reports that the mandatory 24-hour surveillance of SCP-106 was not being enforced as it should. As per official breach protocol, authorities have initiated Operation Sacrificial Lamb, in which an animated robotic human is used as a lure for SCP-106. The robot is purposely incapacitated through the intentional breaking of limbs and left to suffer and wail while inside the enclosure of SCP-106. Authorities report this practice has never failed to bring SCP-106 back, but even after 5 sacrificial robot humans there is no sign of SCP-106. SCP-106 has unusual movement patterns. Scientists and authorities believe it can make use of what they call pocket dimensions, which allow it to traverse natural obstacles by entering and exiting through its own mini-dimension. For example, SCP-106 can enter through a front door and exiting from a rooftop door, all without physically setting foot inside the building. The best advice is to avoid your house attracting the attention of SCP-106 by blocking all your windows or keeping your curtains closed at all times of the day. SCP-106 seems to target humans that are 10 to 25 years of age. We are unsure why this is the case, although we suspect it is because they taste better and are more entertaining than humans of other ages. SCP-106 has been observed playing with its food in some sort of cruel and unusual game of life and death. Often SCP-106 will attack a human just enough to ensure it cannot get away while it continues to play with it until it succumbs to death. If you have the misfortune of being touched by SCP-106, you can expect the following horrifying effects: corrosion of your skin, tendons, and bones starting just a few seconds after initial contact. Your body is subject to rotting away right then and there. Corrosion is known to continue for up to 6 hours after contact but does eventually burn out. It's hard to believe this could happen to you, but we try to be as transparent as possible to keep the public informed and alert. Warning. This is an emergency message from the SCP Foundation. Do not turn off your devices. This is not a drill. If you are receiving this broadcast, there is reason to believe that you are in danger. We regret to inform you that the situation involving SCP-106 has become much worse. Despite thousands of confirmed sightings, SCP-106 continues to terrorize the population and there is no end in sight. Local governments have moved to enforce strict curfews as they work to shut down places of gathering. In your region, it will be forbidden to go outside from 7 p.m. until 5 a.m. If you absolutely need to go out for an emergency or to work, please register at www.specialpermissionsq106.com to receive a special permit. Horrific tales have been emerging regarding the antics of the elusive creature. Some recount hearing screams of terror and agony from humans that are being tortured and played with. Some witnesses report seeing a creature resembling SCP-106 hanging upside down, motionless, with a dark mucus-like substance dripping out of its mouth and onto the sidewalk below, burning a large hole in the ground. There are now 128 cases of confirmed deaths related to SCP-106. Some bodies have been so deteriorated that authorities are struggling to identify them. Preliminary attempts at administering medical aid have been mostly unsuccessful. However, we are encouraged by some indications with victims number 111 and number 115 that a special injection prolonged their suffering by several hours. They were able to speak briefly with authorities, describing horrific acts of violence and interminable pain and suffering inflicted upon their bodies. Ultimately, they too passed away. Most of the bodies, or what was left of them, have been kept in a large underground vault for further medical studies. Perhaps most disturbing has been the rotten stench and smell that accompanies such death and destruction. Entire streets and neighborhoods smell of death. It is certainly a smell that will be etched in the minds of everyone who encounters it. If your street has been affected and you need psychological help, do not hesitate to contact a mental health professional. On a positive note, we have obtained vital information through the tips that have been left. It seems as if SCP-106 does have some weaknesses that you can take advantage of. It is known that it seems to have an aversion to bright and intense lighting. It also does not appreciate hard and complex systems and could easily become overwhelmed and confused by maze-like entrances or elaborate contraptions. It is recommended that everyone arm themselves and their homes with numerous bright lights, as these just may afford you a few extra moments to escape death. The national hotline has been overwhelmed with tips and reported sightings, as has the website www.scp106.com. At the time of this broadcast, both the hotline and the website have been taken offline as the volume of information has proved to be more than the systems can handle. Together and with your help, we can overcome this difficult time. We will provide another update as soon as we have one. Warning, this is an emergency message from the SCP Foundation. Do not turn off your devices. I repeat, this is an emergency message from the SCP Foundation. This is not a drill. The situation has deteriorated, and we need your full attention. As you are undoubtedly already aware, SCP-106 has still not been contained or eliminated at this point. The total confirmed deaths exceed 5,000 bodies. Hospitals and medical personnel are exhausted and past the point of fracture. Mass graves have been dug and police and armed personnel cannot keep up with the frequent emergencies. The latest plans to capture and detain SCP-106 involve entire cities being immersed in extremely bright lights, as it is known that it cannot stand excessive light. This plan did have some initial success, as the monster was seen acting confused, dazed, and generally disoriented. However, it seems to have become naturally used to the light or come up with creative ways to avoid the light by entering its pocket dimension. Entire blocks and sections of cities have been reduced to corroded rust and fine dust, as SCP-106 can corrode everything it touches. It's possible there are more bodies, or pieces of bodies, in the rubble and dust, but authorities admit it will be almost impossible to ever know. Authorities no longer talk about the ability to contain SCP-106, as if they have concluded it is no longer a possibility. Some analysts have predicted several more thousand deaths in the coming days. We can only hope that SCP-106 goes into dormancy for an extended length of time and is somehow caught without further incident. Our last hope remains with the medical community and their ability to develop a counteractive injection that will slow down or possibly stop the effects of SCP-106. A major obstacle is the fact that the injection must be administered within an hour of initial contact with the monster. This is most often not practical, as SCP-106 has shown a special affinity for spending hours or even days playing with the humans it captures. Further work and evidence show promising signs, but authorities caution that a total cure could be weeks or months away, if we are lucky enough to get to that point. The website www.scp106.com has been back up and running the last few days, although there are occasional blackouts to the site. The website was once used to report sightings and tips, but it has since been converted to a database of deceased and missing people. On the website you will find a section where you can report lost or missing individuals. If their information matches the database of known deceased bodies, you will be alerted. We encourage all to use this website for identification and location of loved ones and deceased people. The situation looks bleaker by the day. We are unsure if there will be future broadcasts as the state of humanity is in question. Stay safe and do what you can to survive.